everyone, it's Emily from MEB Designs and welcome back. First of all, I just kind of want to apologise for being sort of missing in action for I think over 2 months now. So I came onto YouTube, was kind of frequently uploading for a while, and then I just kind of dropped off for a number of different reasons, to be honest. A bit of creative block. We're quite busy with other things as well, and it just took a bit of a back burner, to be honest. But yeah, I am back, and I'm ready to kind of keep with a bit more regular uploads, hopefully. I've got quite a few ideas for new videos, but yeah, kind of that's a little bit of an update. What else can I update you on? So I've still been going on to Sewing Street once a month. I think the last video I posted was a week in my life, where I was kind of prepping and getting ready for Sewing Street. So if you've not watched that, take a look at that and you can kind of see an insight into a week prep up to the show. So anyone that doesn't know, Sewing Street's a UK TV shopping channel and I'm a guest demonstrator on there. So I've been doing that. What else have I been doing? Sort of prepping new patterns. I've got the sewing club that I've got. I'm kind of altering that ever so slightly, which I'm going to speak about in a different video. Nothing, I'm still doing that, but just altering the way that I do things slightly. I've been on holiday, went on holiday for a week. We went to Cornwall and we got engaged as well while we're in Cornwall, so that's all exciting. So yeah, I'm also on with planning a wedding, so it's been a bit crazy, a bit mad, but I'm back. So for the first video back, so the first video back, I wanted to talk about sewing to sell. I thought this would be quite a nice little video idea, both in terms of sewing and things to make, as well as kind of the business side of things as well. So if you are interested in that sort of thing, then do let me know, because I am happy to do more sort of those kind of videos as well. By no means am I a business expert, but that's kind of where I started off in the business. So that's what I want to talk about today. I think I'm going to have to take my jacket off, guys. There we go, much better. So yes, back in 2014, early 2014, is when I first ever set up MEB Designs. So I was 18 years old. I'm trying to think. I'd gone to college, studied fashion at college, and then went on to university to study fashion as well. And university didn't work out for me. I became quite ill, quite stressed, and I ended up dropping out of uni after sort of Christmas time. So obviously I started uni in September 2013. By Christmas I had dropped out of university. So it's very short-lived, but I've always wanted my own business. And my dad sort of says, well, why not start now? And I was like, well, but what would I do? Because obviously in my mind the original big dream was have my own fashion label, have my own store, that kind of thing. And he says, well, kind of, why don't you research what it is you can make, sort of on a small scale, and sort of do that, like do a market, do a fair. So I booked my first ever market, which was in Barnsley, which is my hometown, and that was my little end goal, that I would have a stall full of stuff ready for that date. I'd got my little home sewing machine, which was this one here, this exact sewing machine here. I've not popped that there on a purpose. That is the one I'm using at the moment. The other machine that I use normally is broken at the moment. And yeah, I went on YouTube and I looked at little things I could make and came across a video for a tote bag, and it just spiraled from there. So I just kind of want to show you some samples of things that I've made over the years. My advice if you want to set up a handmade business, things that I found that worked well, what didn't, sort of business advice in terms of that as well. So yeah, let me just kind of get straight into it, I suppose. So like I said, over the years, I kind of developed quite a few different things. Tote bags being the main thing that I first ever started off with, and that was always throughout the thing I made the most of, and then just styles developed from there. My most popular style of bag ever was this sort of style here. So it's let's say like a medium-sized tote bag, well, small to medium-sized tote bag with a little bit of a base on the bottom. It's fully lined, magnetic snaps inside, and a pocket. And these used to sell amazingly well because I could sell them for a cheaper price. Now, don't get me wrong, what I used to sell them for, by no means would I ever sell them for that anymore, because obviously costs of things have gone up, but I used to sell these for about £10, I think, which I know some people are probably going to be screaming at me at the camera, but the materials cost was very minimal, and I could whip one of these up in half an hour. And the way that I kept the cost down for these, so again, this is kind of how you can pop this into practice now, is this sort of leathery material, the leather material. I used to buy offcuts of it, and it used to be like, this piece must have cost, let's say 50p ish. And I used to use very bright colours of this. And then what I would do is then I would get my nice printed cottons that I love to buy, that were about £15 or so a metre, between £20 to £15 a metre, and I'd simply use it for the pocket and the handles. And then I would use, again, a cheaper lining material, and that's how I kept costs down. So that is something that I would definitely do. So for example, what you could do is you could do these out of denim. So you could even get yourself to the charity shop, upcycle your denim, keep your costs down there, so you've got your base. Again, get some lining or some calico, which is what, a couple of £1 a metre. So out of a metre of fabric, you're going to be able to get lots of these linings from. And then buy your fat quarters or your half meters of your nice material. So say this was half a metre of fabric, I would probably be able to get 3 or 4 of lots of handles and pockets out of, let's say, half a metre. And if half a metre was £12, no, a metre was £12, so half a metre would be £6. So say it's that would for me be the most expensive part. Magnetic snaps used to cost me probably about 50p. So my point sort of with these styles is these were really popular because I used to market these as being the perfect size lunch bag to take to work. Most people go to work, I mean, not so much anymore, I know a lot of people work from home now, but a nice lunch bag size, or one to keep folded up in your handbag for a shopping bag. But use something plain, whether it be denim, offcuts. Again, you could go to the charity shops, buy leather jackets, that kind of thing. Keep your costs down for the lining and this bit, and then make it special with the pocket and the handles. So that is the first idea that I've got for you. So like I said, I evolved things over time, where I started out very, very basic. Believe it or not, those weren't the first ever tote bags I made. They were more towards the end of the last sort of craft fairs and markets I used to do. But you know, I very much liked doing a lot more intricate designs, but obviously in turn you have to charge more for those, and you know, sometimes some people will pay for handmade, some people don't want to. Excuse me. So you know, these were like another design that I got. These I got from a book, which I think I've mentioned on here before. These were from Debbie Shaw's Build a Bag tote bag books. So again, I've used like plain fabric and then gone for the patterned fabric. Things like this always sell well. I always found plain things with the patterned accents on stood out more for me. But again, it can literally be down to where you live, what's trending around you. But yeah, I also really like the cork fabric, and I found that other people do, but again, I never sold loads of these purely because, again, they had to have the more expensive price mark, and just to kind of like Barnsley where I live, it's not like a massively upmarket area. So if I had a stall on Barnsley Market, so a market for a lot of people means a bargain, and it kind of does annoy me slightly because it shouldn't mean that, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's like another design that was from the Debbie Short Build a Bag books. But yeah, I also used to do these quite often and would always sell these really well. So again, a tote bag, lined tote bag, bit not as wide but taller. This has got quite long handles on it. I didn't used to do the handles this long, to be fair, but I used to buy charm squares. Now I've used my scraps of fabric for this, but I used to buy the Moda charm packs, which are 5-inch squares, and I used to then buy plain fabric, and I used to do like 6 squares together, one for the front, one for the back, and then I used to cut out a rectangle of fabric that joined the front to the back, so I've got one long strip. If you would like a tutorial on something like this, then I can definitely do a tutorial, but I used to do the bottom more of a plain fabric, so these stood out, and you bought these so that they were more like a collection of fabric. These are just absolute random scraps of fabric from my stash, but they were always really good as well. But yeah, if you are sort of wanting to go, depending if you're going to like a really nice craft market, like I've made, like I said, a lot of cork bags before. So this here is actually a pattern that I sell the downloadable pattern for, so that you can make this yourself. That is on my Etsy shop, so I will put the link to that in the description below. That's another version of that same bag. So again, it's mainly like the plain, and then you're using the accents again. So you could sort of use this idea with the denim again to keep the costs down, but just sort of make sure you're giving yourself a decent markup, which I can talk about in a second. Same again, so I've made, this is another pattern that's in my Etsy shop, and this is like a lunch bag style, and it's got the drawstring top, and again it's lined inside and everything, but again, depending on what materials you use would depend on how much that would cost you to make. And this is just kind of giving you some ideas, really. Okay, let's have a look. Next thing I sort of would say then is makeup bags. I used to make a lot of makeup bags. This has not got any wadding in or anything like that. It is a lined makeup bag, and I've kind of used like 2 different materials to make an accent of it. And makeup bags always used to sell really well because, again, they didn't take very long to make. And the thing with a makeup bag as well, there's so many different variations. So for example, I've made this more boxy style, and used hessian and then cotton, which always looks really, really nice. Again, that is lined. Again, it doesn't take long to whip something like that up. Again, it all depends on how long you've been sewing for. What I used to find is the first thing I ever used to make took me longer while I sussed it out the best way to make it. And then I used to get a bit of a production line going on. Makeup bags. Again, that's another one, and I've done like a patchwork design and a heart on it. But again, just to kind of show you that there is all, and I use scraps for this. So you can get really nice designs and things with your scraps of fabric. That was one I did with a pocket on the front. So that's another idea for you. So yeah, the possibilities are endless there, and then you could also do more flatter ones to make pencil cases. I used calico for this, and then I appliqued my name on it, so you could do more bespoke pieces, and these were scraps of fabric. So this cost, you know, it's like pence to make, really. And even if you're not sewing to sell, for gifts, you know, if you're struggling for ideas for gifts, you haven't got lots of money to spend, especially if it's for kids and things, why not make them a name pencil case like this? I can do a tutorial on this as well if you would like. Drawstring bags. They're another really good, doesn't take up a lot of fabric depending on the size. Quite simple, straightforward to make. But again, they're a useful item, and I find if you make useful items, people are more likely to buy the useful things. So yeah, they're always a nice little one to make. And then in terms of, let's have a look, this is another good one as well. So it's sort of one of those origami bags. I'm trying to get, so at the top it kind of looks like a flower. It's like a little pouch that draws up, and that doesn't take much material. That's a very similar one, but it's not got the flower on the top, but it's one of those, it lays completely flat for your makeup. They were really quite popular at one point. And then if you're looking for things to do with your scraps of fabric, like I used to find that I wanted a range of prices on my stall. So I would have, you know, bags that were a bit more money, bags that were a bit cheaper, and then the makeup bags were even cheaper than that. And then I had like baskets of things on the very front of the stall with like tissue covers in. So I used to sell them with the tissues in. So that's one design of a tissue cover. Quite a sort of fun looking design, really. But again, scraps of fabric, so I used to make sure they matched the makeup bags and the bags and things, because then you could then upsell those items. So yeah, tissue covers, and then bookmarks, little bookmarks, covers. So that obviously goes on the page of the book you're reading. Again, they make a really nice gift, because if somebody then bought somebody a book for Christmas or birthday, that would make a nice little gift. So I think having little things like that are quite good for people, that, you know, they come to your stall, they love the brand that you're trying to portray, but maybe they can't afford to buy a bag that moment in time, but they might buy a tissue cover. So it's just definitely worth doing the little things like that. I can do another separate video on little things, because I've got lots of ideas for little things that you could do, and I can also do little tutorials with them as well. But today I just kind of wanted to give you a bit of an insight to how I started, what worked, what didn't. But yeah, it's trial and error. What might have worked for me might not work for you. Oh, and another thing as well, I didn't put this on purpose either, it's just kind of dawned on me. I used to make these jersey circle scarves, and these one must have been my bestseller, probably one of my all-time bestsellers. They're made out of jersey fabric, so stretch fabric. They're an infinity scarf, so a continuous loop. And I used to do them in all sorts of bright colours, patterns, prints, darker colours as well, depending on the season and things. But I used to be able to make 2 of these from a metre of fabric, and where I got my jersey from would cost me about £5 a metre, and again I'll put that shop in the description as well. Price obviously might have gone up. I do think you can still get some really good value, so it would cost me £2.50 to make that scarf, and I used to whip these up in my overlocker in about 15 minutes. So yeah, in terms of pricing things, I can go more in depth with these kind of things, but I just want to gauge what, you know, whether this would be something you'd be interested in. But what I used to do is I used to decide what things, work out properly everything what it had cost me down to thread. You know, it's even worth you know, considering your electric, you know, all that kind of running costs, but then work out what you want to be paid per hour. So for example, if you want to be paid £20 per hour, because the general idea really is, I suppose, with having a business is you do want to be paid more an hour than what you would be, you know, working in a shop, or you know, your normal 9 to 5, for example. So if this cost me £2.50 to make in fabric, let's not kind of think about electric and all that sort of thing at the minute. Just for argument's sake, it cost me £2.50 in materials. That's what it's cost altogether. And I've made this in 15 minutes. And if I want to be paid £20 an hour, I need to add a £5 markup on that. That's how I used to work things. So I used to sell these for £7.50. That's how much I used to sell these for, and I sold loads. I used to make loads every week, and I made a decent amount of money because they took me 15 minutes to make. So in reality, I was paying myself £20 an hour, which even back, you know, back in 2014 onwards were quite good. But yeah, you have got to not just consider your fabric, consider your thread, you know, electric, all that kind of stuff. And wear and tear on your machine, you know, it's probably worth factoring that in. But just to give you a general idea of how I used to price things, but I can go more in depth with that. So I'm going to leave it at that today. If you have got any questions about sewing to sell, please do let me know. Like I said, I can do more of a video series on it, including tutorials as well. I just wanted to do more of a sit down video to just get back into things, and just see what other videos you might like. Please comment below your suggestions. And yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Bye guys.